2.3 million people are incarcerated in the United States.
Our
rate of incarceration is the highest in the world.
Where they can be subjected
Our reliance
to
on, or
solitary
perhaps it's
confinement
fair to
for
say,
months
our
and
obsession
years,
with
while their
incarceration
emotional
began in
and
earnest in the
physical and mental health
1970s
deteriorates.
and has increased
We are
exponentially every
putting
decade
people
since.
in institutions where they can be
The
physically
causes
and
of
sexually
this growth
and
are varied
emotionally harmed
and
by
interconnected,
prison staff,
and
by
include
other
the war on
incarcerated
drugs,
people. And when that happens,
include
there's
fear of
almost
crime
nowhere to
fueled
turn.
by media,
It's very
fueled
difficult to
by
get into
politicians,
court. You don't have a right
pursuit of
to a
profit,
court-appointed
profits
lawyer
through
when you are
private
bringing
prisons and
claims
prison
against
industry, fueled by a
2.3
desire
million
to
people
create a
are
new system of
incarcerated in the
control
United States.
over
Our rate of
African American and
incarceration is the
Latino
highest in
people
the world.
as old methods of
Our
control
reliance
crumbled.
on, or perhaps it's
And
fair
the
to say,
composition
our
of
obsession
the population
with
of our
incarceration
vast
began in
prison
earnest
and
in the
jail
1970s
systems
and has
reflects
increased
the racial
exponentially
fear
every
and
decade
racial
since.
animosity that has
The
pervaded U.S.
causes
culture
of
since
this
its
growth
inception.
are varied
There are
and
multiple data
interconnected,
points on this
and include
issue.
the war on drugs,
Couple to consider
include fear of
are that
crime
African
fueled
Americans
by
are
media,
incarcerated
fueled by
at
politicians,
5.1 times
pursuit of
the rate
profit,
of white
profits
people
through
in state
private
prisons.
prisons and prison
Latinos
industry,
are incarcerated at
fueled by
1.4
a
times the rate
desire
of white
to
people.
create a new system of
And this is not
control
because African
over
Americans
African
and
American
Latino people commit crimes at these exponentially
2.3
higher
million
rates.
people are incarcerated
African American
in the
people
United
and
States.
Latino people
Our rate of
are more
incarceration
likely
is
to
the highest
receive
in the
sentences
world.
to incarceration
Our
and to receive
reliance on,
longer
or
sentences
perhaps
than our
it's
white
fair to
people,
say, our
even when all other
obsession
factors are
with
controlled
incarceration
for.
began in earnest in the 1970s
And each person
and has
who's
increased
incarcerated
exponentially every
in
decade
this society has
The
come into contact with our
causes of
criminal
this
justice
growth
system.
are varied
Prosecutors
and
have looked at their
interconnected,
cases,
and include
judges
the
have
war
looked at
on
their
drugs,
cases, and those individuals have
include
decided
fear of crime
what
fueled
the
by
charges should
media,
be,
fueled
what
by
bail should be
politicians,
imposed,
pursuit of
what
profit,
punishment
profits through
to
private
ultimately be
prisons and
handed
prison
down.
industry, fueled by a
And the
desire
focus when that's
to create a
happening
new
is on the
system of
individual
control
before the
over
court.
African American
What
and
did that
Latino
person
people
do?
as
What
old
harm
methods
did
of
he or
control
she
crumbled.
cause? To who? To
And the
society? To
composition of the
individual
population
victims?
of our vast
What
prison and jail
punishment
systems
does that person
reflects
deserve?
the
And these are
racial
important
fear and
questions.
racial
There is no doubt
animosity
that
has pervaded
individual
US culture
acts can
since
cause
its
grievous
inception.
and lasting harm.
There are multiple data points on
But
this
the
issue.
act of incarceration,
Couple
of
to
sentencing
consider
someone
are
to
that African
incarceration
Americans are
is not a
incarcerated
neutral
at
one.
5.1.
And yet, courts rarely consider the
2.3
moral
million people are
implications, the social
incarcerated in the United
implications,
States.
the individual
Our rate of
implications
incarceration
of
is the highest in
imposing
the world.
a sentence to incarceration
Our
at the moment that
reliance
sentence is
on,
being
or
handed
perhaps
down.
it's fair to say,
There can be
our
no doubt
obsession
that
with
incarceration does
began in
carry
earnest
harms.
in the 1970s
It can be seen
and
as
has
an
increased
act of harm.
exponentially every
It can be
decade
seen as an
since.
act of violence.
We
are taking people away. Our society
and
is taking people
interconnected,
away
and
from their
include the
families
war on
and
drugs,
from their friends and from their
include
communities and
fear
their
of
jobs
crime fueled
and
by
institutionalizing
media,
them.
fueled by
Our
politicians,
society is putting
pursuit
people
of profit,
in institutions where the mental health care and the
2.3
medical
million
care is
people are
grossly
incarcerated
inadequate.
in the United States.
We are putting people,
Our rate of
our society
incarceration
is
is the
putting
highest
people
in the
in
world.
institutions where
Our
they can be
reliance
subjected
on,
to
or perhaps
solitary
it's fair to
confinement
say, our
for
obsession
months and
with
years
incarceration
while
began
their
in
emotional
earnest
and
in the
physical
1970s
and mental health
and has increased
deteriorates.
exponentially every decade
We are putting
since.
people in institutions where they can be
causes
physically
of
and
this growth are
sexually
varied
and emotionally
and
harmed
interconnected,
by prison
and
staff,
include the
by
war on
other
drugs,
incarcerated people, and
include
when that
fear of
happens,
crime
there's almost
fueled
nowhere
by
to turn.
media,
It's
fueled
very
by
difficult to get
politicians,
into court. You
pursuit
don't
of
have a right
profit,
to a
profits
court-appointed
through private
lawyer when you
prisons
are
and
bringing
prison
claims
industry,
against the prison or jail
fueled
that
by a
holds you.
desire
It's
to
expensive,
create a
it's
new system
lengthy.
of control.
We are
over
causing harm in many
African American and
cases
Latino
when we
people
take children
as
away
old
from their
methods of
parents
control
and
crumbled.
parents away from their
And the
children.
composition
We
of the
are causing
population
harm
of our
when
vast
we
prison
have
and jail
people,
system
our society has people
reflects
held
the racial
people in
fear
jail
and racial
before their
animosity
trials,
that
before their
has
cases are
pervaded
resolved
US culture
for
since
no other
its
reason
inception.
than the fact they are
There are
poor and they
multiple
can't
data
make
points
bail.
on this issue.
Our society causes harm to
couple to
communities
consider
of color
are that African
when
Americans
we
are
decimate
incarcerated at
those
five-
communities through
It's an act that carries harm and violence
exorbitant
in
and
itself.
disproportionate rates
And
of
understanding
incarceration
that
and
harm,
arrest. Understanding that violence
All
is
of these
essential
are harmful acts.
to the
And
project of
it's
dismantling
an act that carries
harm
harm
and violence is
that
in itself
incarceration
of mass
again is
incarceration.
not a
Understanding that
neutral
harm,
act. A sentence to
understanding that
incarceration is
violence
not a
is
neutral act
essential
imposed
to
on
the project
an
of
individual who
dismantling
themselves
our
has
racialized
caused harm.
system of mass
It's an act that
incarceration.
carries
harm and violence in itself. And understanding that harm, understanding that violence is essential to the project of dismantling our racialized system of mass incarceration.